welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Mike L, Kevin Jack.
I mean, I think you should change the intro to 79th book-related podcast in all of Argentina.
I forgot. That's really what we should be leading the show with. Last Friday, I got an email from some fella who keeps track of podcasts. I have no idea who he is, but he sent me a note saying, hey, congratulations. Flea Market Fantasy is really doing well in Argentina. We're the 79th book-related podcast in Argentina.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah. We're really moving up the charts.
Yep.
So if you're in Argentina, there are only 78 better podcasts related to books than this show that you're listening to right now.
Yeah. There's probably some like Emily Bronte podcast that's killing us.
It's probably an Anne Bronte podcast if we're 79th. But hey, we're moving on up. So something to be proud about,
Yeah. Making headway.
I forgot all about that until you mentioned it. All right, but tonight we're surely going to go up to at least 75 or 74 because we have Captain America issue 319 from 1986, and this is right towards the end of the Scourge storyline.
Yeah. Which is crazy because apparently this is the end basically of the Scourge storyline, but Captain America is just now catching on to the fact that there is a Scourge in this very issue.
Yeah, I'll be honest. All right, when I was a kid, this came out in 86, I was like a 10 or 11 or whatever, and I knew about Scourge, because especially from reading the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, they always had his entry in there. You get to see all his victims and everything. Oh, it's pretty cool. But I never read any actual Scourge-related books,
Yeah.
So in my mind, I always thought, this had to be so fucking cool. Scourge
what
going around murder people. And then I read this book. I was like, what is this? I don't know. This was terrible.
Yeah.
But hey, don't spoil it. The creators here are Mark Grunwald is the writer, and Paul Neary is the artist, although he did breakdowns, and then Joe Sinnott is the finisher on them. Now, Mark Grunwald we've talked about many times on here. And,
your favorite.
Yeah, Squadron Supreme and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, he did that Hawkeye limited series we did.
Yeah.
Talked about
I think he did. Yeah, probably some. Didn't he do Quasar or some bullshit like that?
I believe he did, yes.
Yeah.
My beloved Quasar. And he also had quite the run on Captain America, and he did a lot of good stuff on Captain America. I think he was behind all that U.S. agent stuff and everything, right? The Captain.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think so. So the artist, Paul Neary, I know him mostly from inking Alan Davis's work. I think he did in DC, but also what I know most from is Excalibur.
Yeah.
He inked the first 18 of the first 24 issues. But he worked a lot with Alan Davis. And, I should say, let me go back to Mark Grunwald here for a second. I forgot I actually took notes. So, I actually have his run here. Wow, he was on Captain America from issues 307 to 422. Then he took one issue off. Then he came back with issue 424 to 443.
Damn.
So that's a hell of a run on Captain America.
That's pretty solid.
July 1985 until September 1995. And I think that's is that when he passed away?
Yeah, that sounds right. I remember seeing all the tributes just right around there.
So, but man, a 10-year run on Captain America. Holy hell, that's impressive.
That's pretty good.
So this is just a year into his run, basically. He's doing this.
Okay, so he's still finding his feet.
Yeah, he's still finding his way. How to rate women, maybe, was the thing he had to figure out.
Oh, man, I love Diamondback. She's the best part of this book.
Diamondback is amazing.
Oh, God. What a lady.
She is just every comic book nerd's ideal woman, I think. She just wants to have sex with me all the time. All right. But Paul Neary, he was born in 1949 in England. He started working for Marvel UK in 1978. He drew Hulk and Nick Fury stuff for Marvel UK. Then he did a bunch of Doctor Who, and for Captain America, he did pencils or breakdowns issues 292 to 329 and 331. So that's a hell of a run. 30 issues. Yeah. It's almost, that's 3 years. Holy hell. When you put it like that, that is a hell of a run.
It's more than people do nowadays.
And he eventually became editor-in-chief of Marvel UK from 1990 to 1993. And he, I guess currently, I think he might, I don't know, I think he's still doing this. I don't know. But they say he works as the anchor for Brian Hitch on,
of course, sure.
On The Authority and The Ultimates.
Yeah.
Those still ongoing?
No, those haven't been around for a while.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Brian Hitch is doing these days.
Yeah. And I remember Mike L liked Brian Hitch a lot. I wasn't too big of a fan, but,
yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't like his earlier work, like the 90s stuff. Like, he did some X-Men stuff that was just awful. But by the time he got to the Ultimates, he had gotten much better, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But not one of my favorites by any means.
So, yeah, that's Paul Neary, and those are the creators here. All right, let's talk about Scourge. His first appearance was Iron Man issue 194 in 1985. And that issue was done by Denny O'Neil and Luke McDonnell, but Mark Grunwald, he created the concept of Scourge. So he was editing and stuff at the time too. So they put it in an Iron Man to start things off. And then eventually they had a concept drawing of what first of all, what people need to understand is Scourge, the one we're dealing with in this story, is now known as Scourge 1, right?
Okay.
He's Scourge 1.
Yeah.
And there's been a few Scourges over the years. Yep. Because it turns out that Scourge was part of a program, the Scourge of the Underworld program, where they trained assassins to murder villains. And you don't learn that until, I think, maybe like early 90s. They come back. But Mark Grunwald was still responsible for all of it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It was his fault.
Yeah, like he had this idea. Because this storyline ties up in issue 320, and then it goes away for a while, and then I think they bring it back later. But the Scourge program was funded by a fellow named Tom Holloway, and he was the Golden Age crime fighter named the Angel. I don't know if you've ever encountered an earlier the Angel.
Yeah, I did know that there was an earlier guy named the Angel.
So I guess he was upset. He became heartbroken and all despondent over the fact that all these criminals were getting off. They go to the justice system and they let them out of prison and everything. Yeah. So he said, we need to do something about this. So he got together and he's funded a program where they just train people to go out and murder these people. And he works with a fellow named Domino, who's in this book.
Who's not the lady Domino.
Yeah, not the sexy Domino.
Yeah.
This we see this Domino briefly in this book, but he's like an informant and an information guy who goes out and he recruited all the potential assassins, and he always gives Scourge his intel. So he tells him, hey, these villains are here, you can go kill them. And he wears a domino mask and a little bowler hat. So it's kind of like
it's like Riddler. His version of Microchip, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Punisher's Microchip guy. Also, I think the guy who trained the assassins, does this name ring any bells? Bloodstain? I think that's what he was. Is that I never heard of it.
No, that's not ringing any bells.
And then I guess later on, though...
Sounds like a very official government name. It's Bloodstain.
This guy seems pretty shady if you're working for a guy named Bloodstain. Be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there was some debate now over the years. People who study this storyline, they think, this whole thing might be a little crazy, because a lot of people think Red Skull was actually the brains behind the whole operation.
Oh.
They think, because it seems like every Scourge, when they get captured, they feed a storyline. Like in issue 320, spoiler alert, Scourge dies. We'll talk about it later. But he confesses to Captain America that he was the brother of the villain, the Enforcer, and the Enforcer was his first victim. And he said he killed his own brother. But then every other Scourge that they catch over the years, they always have a similar story where they're like a relative of a villain. And then it turns out that those stories mostly are bogus, I guess. So there's a lot of still mystery surrounding the Scourge of the Underworld program.
Was that all Mike, same guy writing it? Like, was he clearly building towards something?
I think so. From my understanding, because I believe, the Scourge of the Underworld was unearthed, I think 92, 93, and Grunwald was still writing then, so
okay.
I think he had the whole vision of it. But I think later on, well after his death, they keep bringing back Scourge stuff, so.
Oh, yeah. I remember one version of him, I believe, was on the Thunderbolts at a certain point, but it really didn't make sense.
But getting back to who created him stuff, Mark Grunwald, of course, came up with the concept, and John Byrne designed the program uniform. The Scourge, if you ever seen a picture, usually Scourge is a master of disguise. He usually disguises himself, but
we don't see a lot of Scourge here.
But in the Marvel official handbook or whatever, whenever they have a picture of Scourge, they'll show him like a long white trench coat with a white fedora and a white skull mask.
Yeah.
And he carries a gun, And
cool.
John Byrne designed that. So, all right, I think those are all the big details here. He made 14 appearances across various titles.
Wow.
During this first run. Like, he was in Iron Man, Captain America, I think Fantastic Four. We saw him in Secret
Wars 2, yep.
Yeah, so he was in a bunch of different books.
Yeah, just randomly pop up and kill people, I guess, or to kill people.
And then he would always yell, "Justice is served." That was his big catchphrase. Justice is served. And then he'd run off. But it's pretty cool. Now, by my count, this first Scourge had 38 victims, all told.
Yeah. We had 18 in this book right here.
He was doing work. Scourge guy. Yeah. So, the other villains in this book, the Serpent Society.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Serpent Society?
Yes, sadly. They popped up many times over the years. Never were that cool. They always kind of seemed like a ripoff of the snake guys from He-Man to me, but, it's something, I guess. It's a gimmick.
They're basically an organized crime faction of businessmen and women, and they just work together, and they're crooks. But they're kind of like a corporation of evil. they have like a business structure, and they all take their secret identities off of different snakes: Sidewinder, Constrictor, Cottonmouth, Rattler, Diamondback,
Princess Python, I think.
Yes, Princess Python. Now, do you know when they started? Because I always, Serpent Society, I'm like, oh, that's probably sounds like a gimmick Kirby came up with or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it actually started in 1985 when Grunwald and Paul Neary created it for Captain America 310.
Oh, shit.
We're only 9 issues into the Serpent Society. You want to read this? I just assumed they've been around a really, really long time.
Yeah, me too. Because, the Serpent Crown affair is not too long.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something earlier in with serpents and shit? Like with a crown? Wasn't that earlier?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think you're right.
But I guess there wasn't a society of them. Because there were
I'm sure some of these guys had been created before. They just kind of folded it into a society.
I think that's what happened. Because I think there were 4 snake. Because I remember Cobra was we see him, or maybe that's in the next issue we see him. Yeah, because I read ahead. But I remember him in an Amazing Spider-Man when I was a kid. From.
Mm-hmm.
So
but they just realized, hey, we got a pattern going here. Why don't we put these guys together?
Yeah, let's just put them all together, like the old Monkey Society.
Yeah. Monkeys. Get Hit Monkey and that gorilla from Agents of Atlas. I
don't know who that is.
Oh yeah.
Never heard of Agents of Atlas. I don't know. What is that?
I'll also look up when that was created. If they have any Bronze Age comics of that. It was like Marvel? A 1950s kind. Yeah, it was like a 1950s kind of Marvel team. There's like a talking gorilla, like a robot, like an Asian guy, I think.
An Asian guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to do more research into that.
Yeah, I never heard of Agents of Atlas. This is the part of the show where we Google things. And I'm trying to see a origin here. 1978.
Oh, there we go.
The characters debuted as a team in What If issue 9, 1978. And starred in the 2006 limited series Agents of Atlas, written by Jeff Parker, with art by Leonard Kirk. So we could go to that June 1978 issue. What If? All right. Yeah. that.
Keep that in the hopper.
Found the new Monkey book. All right. So I think that's everything we need to know about this issue going in. Anything else you'd like to say about Scourge?
No, he seems cool from little bit that we see of him in this issue.
Yeah, I guess.
It is kind of strange that, like, this is about the same time they're giving the Punisher his own series, and, like, he's doing the same thing as Scourge here, and you're just like, one book you're supposed to root him on, and in one book you're supposed to be like, oh, this Scourge guy, he's got to go.
Yeah, because he only murders supervillains, and they had to have been convicted of a crime.
Yep.
So
that's how he gets their names and stuff, is because they were in the system.
Because in this book, old Steve Rogers, he even says, hey, I wonder if this is the Punisher doing this.
Yeah.
That's not the Punisher.
Nope.
You know what else I learned about Steve Rogers here? He apparently was drawing the Captain America comic book.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And never misses a deadline either. Like, even during, like, the Skrull War and shit, like, he's just like, yep, gotta get my pages in.
I had no idea this was a thing. When I was a kid, he worked at, like, an ad agency. And he did, like, art and stuff for an ad agency. But I never knew he drew the Captain America comic book.
Yeah. You gotta wonder, was there any, like, did he have any kind of secret identity, or is everybody just knew he was Captain America? Because I don't know how you hide that at that point.
Yeah, he's drawing a book where basically starring himself. Like, hey, Steve,
like you.
Maybe not draw him exactly like you in this book. You know, give him black hair or something. I don't know. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
But,
I'm a Jerry curl like Beyonder after he changes his
life. That is weird, man. Yeah, because like you said, he never misses a deadline. So I think it's this issue, right? We see him doing his pages, then he goes to the post office to mail them in. Yeah. That is great. They were very reliant on the post office back in the day, just sending original artwork through the mail.
Yeah, he's in, like, Ohio and stuff like that. He's got to send it to New York. He's just like, yep, it'll get there.
Because apparently Captain America, old Steve Rogers, he's like living in a van down by the river. He just drives around in a van with a motorcycle in the back.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, now it's actually a life of luxury.
He's rolling headquarters. All right, let's look at the cover here, Jank. It's Marvel's 25th anniversary. Ooh. Still always blows my mind when I see that. Like, it seemed like such a big time when I was a kid. Like, holy hell, they've been around 25 years. I have holes in my socks older than that now. Yeah, 25 years. But, yeah, so there's Captain America on the cover, and he's running right at us, Jank. And in the background, would you like to describe the background for the people?
This is there's some good concepts in this, but the execution to me is a little bit poor. It's very yellow cover with kind of brown silhouette kind of things added to it. So you see a bunch of villains in the background and this just yellowy background. A lot of, D-level villains and a big giant picture of Captain America, in the center of the frame. And it just says, if Cap can't stop Scourge, every supervillain on this cover will die. So that's cool. I like that. Can
you name any of these villains?
Only by looking at the roll call later on.
Yeah. I don't
Other than that, not so much. Especially when they're all in yellow. It's like, I would barely know these guys in color, let alone in this yellow form.
I did learn about a new villain who we have to explore in the future editions of Flea Market Fantasy. But if you look on the cover, he's positioned right between Captain America's legs, right beneath his Charlie Brown's and Linus.
Oh, with the mustache?
Yeah. That guy's name, he's wearing this like straw hat and a real thin mustache, long mustache. His name is Turner D. Century.
Yeah. Oh my God, that name was so good.
So I looked him up, and I guess his whole gimmick was he was mad about modern technology and everything. So he just trying to take down everybody who was trying to make the world, more advanced than the early 1900s.
Oh my God. Oh Jesus.
Like he rode around on a bicycle with, big front wheel and a little back.
Oh yes.
So we got to do Turner D Century at some point.
Oh, this sounds amazing. I hope he fought like Iron Man or something.
I know he fought Dominic Fortune, adventurer Dominic Fortune. We've never done a Dominic Fortune book, so maybe we could kill two birds with one stone there. Turner D Century. Yeah. But yeah, he seems like a natural for Iron Man, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so yeah, that's the cover, and like you said, it's a good Paul Neary again and Joe Sinnott on the art. I think it's a good cover. It'll like I'd buy this, you know, if I saw this. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I
I'd
mean,
buy the shit.
the captioning is, yeah, well, what would get my money. I'd be like, oh yeah, I want to see if they die.
I mean, it would probably be better if we had some recognizable villains on it, but you know, okay, it's just a bunch of faces. I don't know any of
Yeah.
these people. All right. So, so we open up the book. This issue is called Overkill, and Stan Lee presents Captain America. And what's going on here at the beginning of the jank?
Captain America seems to be fighting somebody in space, but no, he's actually still on Earth.
Yeah, the moon's behind him and a dark sky and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's fighting Blacklash, and it's just a full page splash page of him throwing the shield at old Blacklash there.
Well, Backlash, right? Or no, it is Blacklash. What the fuck?
Yeah, it is Blacklash. Yeah.
I always thought it was Backlash. It's Blacklash.
That would make more sense.
Now, who's the guy that Iron Man fought in the second movie? That was Whiplash, right?
That was Whiplash, yeah.
This is Blacklash.
Yep. Man. I guess that's why they were trying to kill him off. It was like, we already got a Whiplash guy. Like, we don't need you.
Yeah, they're like tiers of whip guys. He's way down bottom. So
yeah, we got Constrictor already. Omega Red's around the corner.
They probably have a Backlash too, right? There's got to be a Backlash.
Probably.
So yeah, he's fighting Blacklash, and Captain America hits him with the shield in the hand and makes him drop his whip. You know, and yeah, but this Blacklash fella, he wears a black costume, purple boots, purple gloves, like a purple headpiece, and a green ponytail coming off the top of his head. And a couple shades of purple, or is that blue? It's a light purple, or
yeah, it seems kind of purpley. Maybe a periwinkle.
Hey, there you go, periwinkle. And is periwinkle or is periwinkle green?
I think it's blue, like a bluish purple.
And then the dark purple cape, but
yeah, quite the look.
Fucking Blacklash.
Yeah, short work to him.
Yeah, blue and violet family, periwinkle. That's right.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, you're periwinkle. What am I thinking of? Chartreuse, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Is that the greenish one? Yeah.
I think that's green.
All right, so he captures Blacklash, and but they're in Cleveland.
Yep.
Because Blacklash is like, "What the hell are you doing in Cleveland, Captain America?" You know. Should be,
I thought it was good to commit crimes here because there's no superhero.
It's fucking Cleveland. What are you doing in Cleveland? That is true. Like if you're a supervillain,
park by.
Why are you trying to do stuff in New York? Because they're like all living in New York. Go to the Midwest. That's right for the picking.
Maybe you got the West Coast Avengers by now, but you got nothing in the middle except the Great Lakes Avengers, and you can take them.
So, with this Blacklash fella, he says, Captain America says, "Hey, why are you knocking off these little jewelry heists and shit down here in Cleveland, Ohio?" And he's like, "Well, you know, my ma, I need to get some money to take care of my ma when I'm dead, you know." And he goes, "What do you mean? You're gonna be dying soon or something?" He's like, "Yeah, because there's someone going around murdering all us villains." Where are you at, Captain America? You haven't heard about this? So,
what?
Yeah. this Blacklash guy, well, he's a nice guy, taking care of his mom, you know?
Yeah.
I like this guy. Yeah, it's good on him. But they still put him in prison. So.
Yeah. This Scourge, he says, killed his buddy the Melter.
The Melter.
Looks like an Iron Man villain, yeah. But he came back. I know there's another villain named the Melter not long afterwards, so that's the gimmick.
This is a great idea, you know? Like, just going around murdering and mystery and everything. By the way, one of the victims he had killed earlier was Titania.
Holy shit.
But there's got to be more than one Titania, though, right? Because, I mean, Titania is a pretty prominent villain, no? And she's...
I mean, she's married to, you know, the Absorbing Man. So, I don't think he would let that slide.
Yeah, there's got to be a couple of Titanians. Because, I think so. She's kind of a big deal.
Just came back.
Yeah.
I think that happened with some of these people. Like, I know Vamp, he kills in this issue. I know she came back in some kind of monster form.
Turner D. Century actually came back. He was resurrected by some, who brought him back?
Some Amish people?
No. Some villain brought him back to life, and, some like demonic, it was like a demonic situation or something. I don't know. But,
shit.
I don't know. All right. So yeah, Captain America's like, I better look into this whole, murder thing. About the,
First, I got to draw some pages.
Yeah, because Captain America's getting on his motorcycle there. He's like, someone's killed the melter? I guess the authorities haven't discovered the body yet. I wonder if this killer he's talking about was the same one who made an attempt on the Constrictor's life a few months back. Scourge, he called himself. I never was able to get any leads on him. And that was in Captain America 311. So,
yeah, he's been busy.
So now the scene cuts, Jank, and now where are we?
We're at the secret base of the Serpent Society. Their secret headquarters. Sidewinder teleports in, I think, with Death Adder's dead body in his arms.
Yeah,
he's like, he's dead. Death Adder is dead.
Sidewinder, I think, is their leader.
Yeah, who looks very cool when he's in costume, but then he takes the helmet off, and you're like, ooh, who let this guy be the leader?
He's a bald dude with a mustache.
Yeah,
and, he looks like I don't know,
Fraser Crane with like a mustache.
And he's like, "Where'd you find Death Adder?" And he's like, the morgue. That's a good place to look.
Yeah, poor Roland. You can see why these guys all adopted snake names. They're not cool at all. He's like Dungeons and Dragons players, basically, like playing dress up.
And we see our beloved Diamondback in here, and there's also Asp.
Oh, yeah, I like Asp.
And who could have done such a thing to him? I'll kill the son of a fish. I'll rip his face off. What's that lady's name who's talking? Is that Constrictor, or what's her name?
That might be Princess Python, I think.
Oh, really? She looks pretty meaty for a princess.
Yeah. Big meaty woman slapping meat.
She looks a little beefy. But, so the Serpent Society, they vow revenge. Whoever killed Death Adder,
Whoever it is smoked meat.
So now, Jank, I learned something interesting here, because the next scene takes place at a bar called the Bar with No Name. And on Marvel's Snap, there's a location called the Bar with No Name.
Yeah.
This all ties together because I never understood it, but there it is.
That's also one of the places you could take a picture of in the Marvel Spider-Man game.
Oh, really? I didn't even. Yeah. I probably did that and didn't even know.
Yep. Looks quite different there. It's not a freestanding building in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, they said there's a bunch of these bars across the country, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So there's like a chain of them.
So it's like the Ohio branch. It just looks like a rundown old strip club.
Yeah, so wherever you're at in the country, if you're a supervillain, you can get a fair price drink. If you're out on the road. But
for one, if you take your mask off.
So all these villains, they hang out at this bar with no name, and this one guy, Gary Gilbert, I think his name is. Yeah. Firebrand, that's who he was. The villain. Fire. Did you know Firebrand? Does that mean anything to you?
No, not a clue.
But he's trying to convince people at this bar, like, hey, we got a problem. This Scourge guy's going around murdering everybody. So what I think we should do is get all of us together in one room at one time. And nothing could possibly go wrong if we do that.
Nope. Put all our eggs in one basket.
But
we'll totally be fine.
But he wants to have a meeting about what they can do to oppose this Scourge fella, So he meets a couple people. Jaguar and Letha are there, and I don't know who they are.
Yeah, they definitely need to start cleaning up some of these villains that no one cares about or uses.
So Jank, now we come back to Captain America, and he's driving, and he gets in his van, and
yep,
and here he is. He's got to make his pages, right?
Yeah, here's where it happens. I think I'll check in with my hotline network, the Stars and Stripes, see what they have on the mystery criminal killer. Okay, the boys are working on it now. Let's see if the Avengers Crime Files have anything. How did I ever do my job before the computer revolution, I wonder? And then now while I'm waiting for all the data to come pouring in, I think I'll finish the artwork on my latest batch of Captain America comic pages. I promised my editor he'd have these by Friday. I'd better get to a post office before closing time.
An hour later. He just knocked out a bunch of pages in an hour.
Yeah. He's like, boy, it's great to have an understanding editor. I wonder if that was the, Mark Grunwald trying to say something about his editor.
Well, I think he was the editor, right? I think Mark Grunwald was doing everything. So he's probably just trying to give himself compliments. Oh, the editor.
I'm such a good editor.
But yeah, an hour later, he finishes off all his pages. So that super soldier serum, it also makes you an accelerated comic book artist.
Yep.
Yeah.
He just draws a lot of Bucky. Like, oh, I miss Bucky. I'm going to draw him in here.
I'd be drawing Haley Atwell everywhere else. So yeah, still I do check in twice a week. Wow, this is Steve Rogers. What a guy. Steve Rogers is.
This is definitely the Steve Rogers that I used to not care about because he was so square.
Yes. When I was a kid, I hated, when I was a real little kid, I loved Captain America. And then when I got to be 11, 12, 13, I hated Captain America and I was all about Wolverine, because Wolverine is cool. And Captain America, like you said, is a square, But then the Captain America in the movies is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
They really brought him back. Like, you're like, oh, this guy, he's got values, but he does, do what's right at the same time. He's not just going to blindly follow the government if they do something terrible.
I want to know more about the Stars and Stripes hotline that he has.
Yeah.
How does that work? He has a payroll. He has employees that man a hotline all day long.
Do people have to pay $9.99 a minute?
Yeah.
To hear a pre-recorded message from Captain America? And it's he just drags it out hi, this is Captain America. And it's already been 2 minutes now, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, that was the thing.
So much
that was the thing when we were kids. It's $900.
Yeah.
You just call to get your wrestling updates.
Yeah.
You could, So now we cut to the Serpent Society. We see a page of montage of them going around talking to people and roughing up some folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever that lady is, she might be Anaconda.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
But come on, Ringmaster, you're sure the Python didn't put you up to murder? She's just squeezing the shit out of the Ringmaster. He's like, no, I never murdered anybody. And then, we really need to know our Serpent Society. There's one guy who looks like the Scorpion.
He really does. He's got that tail. Yeah.
What kind of a snake has a tail like that? I didn't think snakes had that going on.
And this guy's like, okay, punk, you tell the Kingpin if he knows anything at all about the killer to contact us. You got that? He ain't gonna tell the Kingpin. No.
Don't do anything. And there's another. These AIM boys could have resented Adder for killing their boss MODOK. So they killed MODOK?
I'm sure. Yeah. Again, that didn't last. Clearly.
Yeah. And then there's some lady here sitting down. Maybe this is Princess Python. She seems really considerate, like a princess. But she's sitting down talking to the parents of Death Adder. And she's like, did your son have any enemies you knew of, Mr. Burroughs? He was a villain. Everyone was his enemy, right? What are they going on here? Yeah, every law enforcement agency in the world hated him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jank, where do we go from there?
We go back to the bar with no name. Where the owner of the bar is talking to the bar back there, the Woody, if you would, of this bar. And he says, we're having a bunch of people here on Saturday night. That's going to be the big night. We're going to have hopefully up to 50 or so of these costume criminals are all going to meet here. And he's like, I expect you better stock up on liquor. And he's like, he starts telling him his reasoning for doing this. He's like, it's not purely humanitarian, Jake. I'm a business agent for criminals. I help them find work for a small commission. If someone is killing off my clientele, it's in my interest to get that person out of circulation.
And I could use one of those.
Yeah. Get you some criminal.
Yeah. I'll go knock over a jewelry store. Come on. No problem. So, just as they're ending their conversation there, they show some guy coming in, and it's the Ringer. The Ringer, what of it? And that's it. That went nowhere, really. I don't know if you even need that at all, right? Like,
No, he shows up later on, during the meeting, but you don't need that.
Yeah, there's like no significance to it at all. If you're going to have someone show up there for a little cameo, make it Turner D Century. Hey, come in on his bicycle. Turner D Century.
I had to leave a couple days early because I wouldn't take a dirty car.
So Captain America, he travels to some insane asylum place, and he's like, hey, maybe it's the Fool Killer doing all these murders, because he likes to murder them fools. And they have a Fool Killer here in a padded cell, and he's like, hey, Fool Killer, do you know if there's another Fool Killer out there, murdering people? And the Fool Killer's all oatmeal north of the eyebrows. He doesn't know what's going on. And the nurse, though, it looks like she has it in a little something there for Captain America. She's like,
yeah, or possibly he has rabies or something. She's got red eyes. I don't know what's going on there.
That's passion. It's turning her eyes red. Passion for Captain America. But, no leads there with the Fool Killer. Nope. So he's walking out of the place, and he sees a rope hanging from the roof. He's like, what is going on here? Maybe that killer's trying to break in and kill the Fool Killer, And so he tugs at the rope, and he yanks down a lady. And who is
Only
it?
That were the case. I would do that. I'd be pulling ropes down like nobody's business.
Yeah, foxy lady just comes down. It's Diamondback of the Serpent Society, and she dresses in this like pink and black outfit, and she has like pink hair as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's quite the look. I love it. She's quite busty as well. Quite busty there. Well blessed up top.
And she's also a real wiseacre, this Diamondback.
Yeah.
It appears as we're on the trail of the same person. Really? That's marvelous. Would you like to share information? And Captain America thinks, I don't trust this woman. And
I'm not accustomed to consorting with the enemy. She's just bending over in front of him, just like, oh, Captain, I'm not your enemy. I may belong to a rival organization, to the Avengers, I'll grant you that. But if I were truly your enemy, I would have nailed you with one of these babies. I had you dead to rights twice, once in the shopping mall and again at the construction site, and I did nothing. And she got these little diamond things that she shoots out.
Yeah, and she keeps them around her neck and her waist, I think, and stuff. And that happened in issues 313 and 315. Editor's note. So
she's been circling Captain America for a while now, too.
Yeah, she's been stalking him. Yeah. So she gets pretty aggressive here in a minute.
A little bit.
So she has
she's like Catwoman on the old Batman 66 show. She's just there to want to fuck Batman, basically. She commits crimes, but those are kind of secondary. Mostly she just wants to bang Batman.
Except I think she's even hornier, this Diamondback lady. So she has her own little flying ship. I think it's an AIM ship. I don't know why. It looks like it's got two giant testicles on the top of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of ship this is.
That MODOK's into some weird shit.
She's like, yeah, this is my home away from home, one of the many fringe benefits that come with being a member of the Serpent Society. And so they sit down, and she says, buckle up, Captain. Don't worry. I'm a great pilot. In fact, I do everything great. In fact, you haven't noticed. She's saying sex. She does sex great. That's what she's implying there. Yeah.
I caught on to that one.
How many 10-year-olds do you think caught on to that? This is a book for children, Mark Grunwald. What are you doing?
There's a lot of that. We're getting to my favorite bit soon here, where she tells about her backstory.
Oh my God, it is crazy. All right, so now we cut back to the bar with no name, and they're getting all ready for the big meeting, and they have some security there. The Tinkerer gave old Firebrand here some special security measures where they can monitor people's retinas and tell who they are. Right? They can tell them by their eyes or whatever.
Make sure it's not, the Scourge coming in the disguise.
That seemed to fail miserably, right?
I guess he didn't use it on the people who were already in the bar.
I guess that guy just never left the bar. He just All right, Jank. Well, here it is. Diamondback tells Captain America her story. Why don't you give us the rundown?
Oh, it's pretty great. She says, sure, I'll lay my Playmate data sheet on you.
So Mark Grunwald making a Playboy reference in a children's book. All right. Yeah.
I was a bit of a tomboy, had a bunch of brothers, always had to prove I could keep up with them. My father died when I was young. My mother was always working. I did everything with my big brother Ricky, even when he started robbing candy stores for kicks. There I was at his side. Then, when I was 15 and Ricky was 17, he was shot dead by a cop after knocking over a Korean fruit stand.
Filthy cops.
Those fruit stands, I got all the money. That's when my childhood turned unhappy. I never had much use for the law after that. All right, here's where it gets really good.
Yes, this is fucked up. Okay.
I dropped out of high school, never picked up any skills except as a con artist and pickpocket. My brother Danny introduced me to a friend of his named Pete, who made me my first set of simulated diamonds. I won't tell you what I gave Pete in exchange.
Now, just to be clear, this isn't your cousin Pete we're talking about.
No. He cannot make diamonds.
I think this is Paste Pot Pete, right? It looks like Paste Pot Pete.
That could be.
Like his little outfit there. I
Yeah.
think that's who she's talking about. So, he gave her diamonds.
Yep.
She gave him something else, you know what I'm saying?
She gave him the diamond cave.
So then they show her throwing around the diamonds. Anyway, I got pretty darn good at throwing those things, and I decided to make a go of it as a costume crusader. I like this shot over here, the over the shoulder, very stylish looking shot. And then she says, I admit I did a bad thing or two here, but hey, a gal's got to make a living, and I'm really not a bad person, Cap. I just never had any good influences on my life. Then when I laid eyes on you in that Jersey shopping mall, know what I said to myself? I said, now there's a man who could be a good influence on me. Here's somebody worth going straight for. So how about it, Cap? And she means straight in the sense of no longer being a criminal.
Right.
Yeah. Not she's, yeah. So,
the ladies.
Cap is sitting there in his chair, and he looks very concerned about all this, He doesn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And Diamondback.
He's learned from Tony Stark not to stick dick and crazy, but I mean, he should. Just give in, Cap. Just do it. He seems pretty great.
How'd you like to throw away your inhibitions and let me show you a real good time? That's what Diamondback is saying to Captain America in a book for children in 1986. Yep. And
she grabs the ignition key.
Well, wait, before that, Captain America says, sorry, Diamondback. I don't like that. I don't take that kind of thing I don't like that kind of thing lightly. It should be I don't take that kind of thing lightly. Right?
That's very weirdly worded.
Yeah. All right. So Captain America, straight arrow here.
Yep. He's like, we got to be married to do that.
Yeah. He's holding out for Haley Atwell. He's waiting.
Yeah.
So all right, Jank. So then what does Diamondback do?
So she says, "Who said anything about love? Let me reword my proposition, Cap. Either you promise to let me have my way with you, or I'll let this saucer crash." And she takes the keys out of the ignition, causing the plane to go into a dive. And she takes the keys and drops it down her shirt. So if he wants the keys back, he's gonna have to feel her up to get that keys.
This is amazing.
Or just let her have her way with him.
What is happening in this? I don't know. 1986, a book for children, and this is going on. How did the editor? Was the editor Grunwald on this? Because what the hell?
Well, I mean, he's already got a guy killing like 18 villains in one book. Why not go all the way?
Mike Carlin is actually the editor, and then Jim Shooter is still the editor-in-chief here. So, wow, this is kind of shocking.
I mean, I guess Shooter was more fixated on the new universe at that point, so he didn't care.
But yeah, so she drops the key down her shirt, and she says, "Why don't you find it there, Captain?" And Captain America, he's debating this. Should I have sex with Diamondback, or should I let us die? What should I
mean, the answer seems obvious to me.
I must say, this is a trap I didn't quite expect. This is Captain America thinking to himself. From the little I got her to tell me about herself, I still don't know if she's crazy enough to take this stunt too far. I think you've got all the information you need to know that she's crazy. And
yep.
So she's like, you better decide quick, Captain. We only got about 10 seconds for me to pull us out of this dive. And she's counting down, she's at 7. And Captain America's like, my decision is no deal. I don't believe you're willing to throw away your life on something so fleeting as a few moments of pleasure. And
she's saying much for his stamina there.
And she says, "You cold fish." And she reaches down and pulls the key out from her bosoms, and she puts it in the ignition, and boom, she flies him off, you know. And then Captain America says, "I don't think I can trust you enough to work with you after that little stunt, Diamondback. We better call it quits right here." And she's like, "What? You didn't like my ploy?
They almost killed you?
To rape you? That didn't win your heart? What?" And he's like, "No, in fact, I know these AIM planes always have like a parachute here. Oh, here, there's a parachute." So he takes a parachute. He's like, "I'm going to jump out here." And she says, No, just wait here. I'll land. Don't worry."
Yeah.
And so they zoom down to the ground. They land their testicle plane on the ground there. And she says, "Captain, wait, I'm sorry. My desire for you made me act so foolish. It won't happen again, I promise you. Look, if you agree to work with me on this, I promise I'll not only keep my hands to myself, I'll even tell you where Serpent headquarters is." So she's going to sell out all her friends.
Giving up everybody, yeah.
Man, good Lord.
For that dick.
And Captain America says, "Sorry, I can only work with people I trust." And he is running away from this smoking hot pink-haired lady he wants to have sex with him. And she's like, "Oh, what should I do? Cap, wait." And she's chasing after him. But she can't keep up. He's Captain America. He's just running. Like, they just landed this plane in the middle of nowhere, and he's just running into a cornfield. Like, what? Like, what's his plan here? Just to run until he gets somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like a very bad idea.
And so she's chasing him through this cornfield, and when you know it, boom, she gets shot. She's running through this cornfield. And it's like, holy hell. Captain America's like, "What is Scourge? Is Scourge here just murdering Diamondback in the middle of this random cornfield?" So he goes chasing after the shooter, and he catches the shooter, but who's responsible, Jack?
It's just some blonde farm guy. And at first he's like, "Oh, this might be Scourge. I'm going to try to peel his face off, get through his mask." And then he's just like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you peeling at my face for? I'm just a farmer."
He thought they were space aliens. He saw their ship come down. He thought they were aliens.
Yeah.
And he went to go shoot an alien. And it turns out this Diamondback there, he goes back to check on her, and she's like, "Diamondback, how are you doing?" And she says, "I know I don't have much life left in me, Cap. Please grant a dying woman's last request. Kiss me." And he's like, "You're not dying, Diamondback. The farmer's buckshot tore up your arm and shoulder a bit, but it didn't hit anything vital." Man. What a
probably
creep
messed up his boobs. Those are pretty vital.
So then she says, "You are impossible." You know that man. She can't even get a kiss out of Captain America.
I know, but I think don't they go on to this goes on for a while, and I think they do end up getting together a little bit.
I have no idea. Yeah. I
remember that being an ongoing thing that happened during Grunwald's run.
Oh, I'd like that. Yeah, hero and a villain. Yeah. Kind of the whole Batman Catwoman thing, like you said.
Yeah.
All right, so they cut back to the bar with no name, and now we see all the villains in all their glory because they show up to this meeting in their outfits. You know.
Yep.
And
some of them have powers that they don't need extra like a gun for, but so they can keep their powers. But some of them who have guns and stuff like that, they leave that at the door, no weapons.
Yeah, they're kind of pissed about it. They're like, "Hey, everyone else can have their powers, but."
That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, that point was made by Steeple Jack. He's very good. Steeple Jack. I have no idea who he is.
Jack.
And then there's another guy in the crowd. He's like, "Is this the Ringer?" He's like, "Wow, are there ever a lot of big timers here tonight, Ringer?" He's talking to himself, Ringer. "Yeah, you running with the fast crowd now?" "Yeah, it's like Steeple Jack and Turner G Century and the Mirage. These are big guys, all right. Big timers."
Birdman. Yeah.
How would you like it if, like, when they're spanning the there's just Dr. Doom sitting in the corner, like, wait, how did he get in here? What are you doing here, Dr. Doom? Are you hanging out with these bums? You know?
They'd be like, "That was a Doom bot."
Yeah,
it wasn't really him.
Just a bunch of bums. And
yeah, these are pretty rough.
Yeah, so they do a roll call, and Shell Shock, Steeplejack, Cyclone, Mindwave, Ringer, Hellraiser, R-A-Z-O-R, the Grappler, the Rapier, Mirage, the Rapier, not the Raper. That's completely different. Jaguar Turner D Century, and he's sitting all nice with his hands on his lap with a cane and a walking stick. Yeah. The Vamp, you mentioned her earlier. Birdman,
Yep.
the Hijacker, Commander Kraken. Who the hell is Commander Kraken? Letha and the Cheetah.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a cheetah in Marvel.
Yeah, no idea. So it's like a who's who, a who's that. And Firebrand starts giving a speech about Scourge and how they got to work together to bring him down. And he asks for some ideas. And this is one of my favorite panels in the book. These silhouettes of all these villains with their hands up in the air like, hey, me, I got an idea. And they start shouting out their ideas. Let's put up $1 million reward. Challenge them to a duel. Let's all go into hiding. Let's ask
the Avengers to protect us.
Run into the Avengers. Let's kill all superheroes. Then we're sure to get the one doing this to us. Yeah, you guys are going to kill all superheroes.
Yeah.
How about
Century takes everyone down? How
about calling in S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because again, why would they help you? All right, Jank. So then what happens?
Well, the bar back there, the Woody Harrelson guy, he's like, say, Gary, may I make a suggestion? And he's like, you could all eat lead and die. And he just pulls out some machine guns and starts mowing down the entire crowd. Even though, again, some of these people have superpowers that they could be using, but apparently don't. Because they're just so caught off guard. Yeah.
And he's wearing a Muscle Beach t-shirt. And he rips off, in the final panel, he's holding his gun up in the air. And it's smoke, and there's all kind of gun smoke everywhere, dead bodies, blood, bullet holes on the walls. And he rips off his mask, and his face is in shadow, so you can't see who it is. And he just yells, justice, dead, all 18 of them. Justice is served. And then next, Cap vs. Scourge.
Yeah.
Did you read ahead?
I did not. I looked at it a little bit, but.
Yeah, I read ahead. So Diamondback, she's fine. She's in the hospital. Cobra goes to visit her. And then he takes her out of the hospital. And to get down, because her arm's still injured, so they have to climb down the wall. Cobra, he can cling to walls like Spider-Man kind of. And he puts her on his shoulders, and he carries her down with her on straddling his shoulders. And he has a thing for Diamondback too. So he's very happy.
Love triangle.
Yeah. So look out.
Yeah. I mean, I would be too.
But Captain America comes up with this plan. A guy named Water Wizard, I think his name is Water Wizard. He calls Captain America because he was late to the meeting at the bar with no name. When he showed up, all he did is see dead bodies. So he called the Stars and Stripes hotline, and he gets a hold of Captain America. He's like, "Hey, come meet me. I got an idea. I got to tell you something." So he takes him to the bar with no name, and he shows him all the dead bodies. And Captain America goes, "What the hell?" And so Captain America calls in the cops. And they tag all the dead bodies and take them to the morgue and whatnot. And then Captain America says, "Hey, Sheriff, I have a plan." So the plan is the Captain America is going to say that the Mirage actually survived the attacks.
Okay.
Because of his powers or whatever. So he is going to wear the costume of the Mirage. And they are going to lead him out of police headquarters and say they're taking him to an undisclosed location for protection. And because the Mirage can identify the killer. So they put that out on the news. And Domino doesn't appear in this issue. He appears in the next one. But Domino works with Scourge, and he tracks. Domino, when he's giving him the update on where Scourge can find different supervillains, he says, "Oh, by the way, I also know the true identity of the Hobgoblin."
Whoa.
Yeah, but he doesn't say it. But he knew it. This Domino guy.
Well, do we know that he knows it, or is he just trying to make himself sound cooler? I know the Hobgoblin.
I think this Domino guy, he's legit. He's pretty legit. But so he tells Scourge. Domino tracks them to this cabin in the woods, and he tells Scourge. So Scourge is going to go to this cabin to finish the job on Mirage. So he goes in there and he guns down Mirage, boom, 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 through the window. But it's a dummy stuffed in the Mirage costume stuffed whatever. And Captain America attacks him, and he chases him down in the woods, and he captures him, beats him up, and he's getting him to spill his beans, and Scourge basically has the same flashback thing that Diamondback does in this issue. He does the exact same thing where he talks about his childhood and everything, And his
I bet
dad
it's
was
a lot less sexy.
yeah, his dad was like a movie director or something, and Enforcer was his brother. And but when his brother turned to crime, it shamed his father and ruined their family. So that's why the Enforcer was his first victim. And he doesn't talk about being part of a program or anything. He just says, I was just, through family obligation, I wanted to get revenge, So he started killing all these villains. And then, right at the end though, Scourge gets shot. Someone from the woods hit Scourge with the same explosive kind of bullet that the Scourge uses, and his chest is smoldering. And you hear someone from the woods yell, "Justice is served," and he goes running off. So,
it's not over.
That's right. So that leaves the door. But then that's where the issue ends, because Captain America stays with Scourge, the dying Scourge, to try and comfort him as he dies, and doesn't chase after the unknown shooter.
Look at that. That Captain America is just too nice.
I know. So the next issue then, it just opens up, and it's like not even a mention of Scourge. It's like completely...
Yeah, I guess you got to give it some time for that storyline to die down and then bring it back.
They just turn the page and boom, they're off onto something else. Not even a mention of Scourge. In fact, the next issue is that famous Mike Zeck cover where Captain America has a machine gun. Did you ever see that cover?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's gunning it down. Because at the end of that story, Captain America uses a machine gun and like kills a guy. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's not too surprising because Captain America fought in World War II, like,
with the Nazis.
It's naive to think he didn't mow people down.
But, that's a big deal, though, back then for Captain America to use a gun. Like,
yeah.
Big deal. But it's a very famous cover Mike Zeck did.
Good-looking cover.
All right, there it is. That's the story of Scourge. So, yeah, he does appear then later on a different Scourge, Scourge 2. There's a Scourge 3. There's a kind of Scourges. I don't know. There's a bunch of Scourges.
It was all some MK Ultra type thing.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So there you go, your Scourge history. What'd you think, Jake?
You know what? If Diamondback weren't in it, it would be a lot lower. She definitely made this issue for me. She is pretty great. I did like the ending. The ending was good, where Scourge finally makes his move.
Yeah.
They did kind of set that up pretty well. So even though we didn't get a lot of Scourge, what they did with this issue was memorable and, momentous. Even though it was just a bunch of people that we're never going to hear of again, except hopefully Turner D Century, who we'll hear more from. But yeah, for the most part, I don't know. Again, like this is the kind of Captain America that I used to not care about, where he was very square jawed and
he's a dork. The story, the overall story is great. It's his genius idea. Mm-hmm. The big picture execution of what they did here was well done. Gathering all the villains at the bar and mowing them all down at the end. That was pretty good. The Captain America Diamondback stuff in, big picture wise, that's interesting. But the actual words used to tell the story were terrible. Just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
It was like you said, Captain America is just a square and a nerd, and this guy's terrible. He's not cool at all. And
a lot of stuff with the villains talking it over was just kind of repetitive and didn't add a lot to it eventually.
And the Diamondback, I mean, yeah, she's great, but in a ridiculous way. Like it's just completely absurd.
Yeah. But that was the charm of her. That character worked for me a lot.
So yeah, it's a mixed bag here.
In return.
How did you think of the Paul Neary, Joe Sinnott art?
It was fine. I really liked the version of Diamondback we got here. Very well depicted.
There's a couple. The art's perfectly average, but there are a couple panels that do shine where they look almost a little more stylish or clean, like few lines and almost graphic designy. A few of them. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's nothing to write home about.
It's serviceable. Yeah, it's nothing remarkable. It's no Alan Davis.
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's just it's weird because, like I said, the big story is great, but the actual writing and execution is terrible. So I don't know, maybe like a 5, middle of the road, just bang, middle of the road.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there. It's got good elements to it. I don't know, just something about the whole thing overall didn't click.
This could be like a great, like this would be one of those movies you want to remake, like a great idea, but
Yes.
just too corny and terrible. Someone
Yeah.
should redo it,
Yeah, there's just so much going on in this one issue. Like, I feel like if this is the build up to the Scourge thing, like you should have, paced this out a little bit better.
Yeah, it is weird that it should be Captain America. Like, I always assumed that Captain America was aware of Scourge. Like, if Scourge was around for 14 issues, Captain America was aware of it since issue 1, and then he's been chasing him for 14 issues. Instead of, he's aware of it in issue 13 and then catches him in 14.
Yeah, exactly. They should at least, he should have fought him at one point and he always got away again.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, you got to have some kind of build up there.
I thought this was a massive, epic storyline where it just seems more like they just threw Scourge into some random issues and then tied it up at the end. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
And it's almost like random that it's Captain America. It's like just because Mark Grunwald's writing that one, essentially. Like, it could have been anybody, but it just happens to be Captain America because that's who he's writing.
Yeah, that really is bad. Like, he should have been chasing them, hunting them down.
Yeah.
Hunting them down. Chasing them across.
Now he's just finding about it. His existence, the issue before he takes him down. That's weird.
That is pretty bad. So, yeah, maybe a 4. I don't know. It's not that great. But it's okay. It had the potential to be great, but it's not that
I'll go with a 5 still. I'll give it some, couple Diamondback points.
All right, Jank. So.
All right. Well, my next pick will be the last pick I have before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out.
Oh.
So I figured I'd do something related to that. There's a couple of ways that could have gone with this, but I figured since we recently did, Secret Wars 2 and we did Acts of Vengeance not too long ago, we would look at one of the Marvel early crossover events and take a look at the Evolutionary War, because supposedly I think the High Evolutionary is going to be the big villain of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Because Marvel Snap is about to release High Evolutionary, I think next month or something, so about that.
Yep, that would make sense. That's probably why they're doing it. I know he's definitely supposed to be in there. I would assume he's essentially the main villain, and, Warlock will just be kind of, they'll probably fight him at first, and then they'll make friends with him or whatever, like they always do when heroes meet up. But I figured we would do Avengers Annual number 17 from 1988, the final part of the Evolutionary War that ran through a bunch of the annuals that year. Yeah,
that's right. They're all annual crossovers. This was right about 88 was right when I was about getting out of comics. I think this was like the last year of my X-Men run, because I remember this Evolutionary thing, and I was like, wow, this kind of stinks. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not a great crossover, but it's got a lot of High Evolutionary in it. It's probably the one moment where they tried to make him a thing. So, figured we'd take a look at that. And so, it's a weird, like, Avengers team too. It's like, I think they kind of broke up and like, they're just like, hey, who can we get for this mission?
Isn't it like Dr. Druid and Hercules and stuff? Is that like where we're at? Or?
No, it does have some decent people, but it's just
Black Knight, Cersei.
I think it's like, Captain America, but with like the black costume, like he's giving it up. I think Thor, like the Hulk, who is basically Joe Fixit at this point. Beast, even though he's on X Factor at this time, just kind of shows up. Like Jocasta, like the female Yellow Jacket, I think.
Wow, I didn't even know there was a female Yellow Jacket. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What number did you say this is? Annual
number 17.
1988. Right, so there you go. High Evolutionary. All right, that'll be something. So until next week, don't get any jank on you.